Hi everybody, it's RPG Grandma. So, sort of a random thought, um, was talking to another DM, um, and this has to do with what I see in the gaming community in general. So I'm not picking on any one person. Don't think that, please don't. And this is something I've been guilty of as well. So there we go. I think about things that I've learned to do better over the years, or that I'm currently working on, or, things I've never tried and now I'm trying it, stuff like that. So I never pick a subject that I've always done 100% correctly from the beginning because I'm perfect. Oh, no, that's not how role playing games work anyway. Gosh, no, everybody makes mistakes. Whether you're a player, whether you're the game master. It's just the way it is. So, one of the mistakes, which can be a mistake or not, or may not be a mistake, depends on, again, the style of play that the table wants. That includes what the game master wants to do. But I'm just throwing it out here. Is moving around in darkness. Um, Unless you've been deep underground in pitch blackness conditions, it's really hard to explain to people what that's like. It is sobering, even if you know you're safe. It is disturbing because there is no light. For real, there's no light. It is black as black as black can be. Doesn't matter, your eyes are open, you're not seeing anything. All right? And you know that there's miles of rock above you. That's sobering, disturbing, and can be terrifying to some people for sure. So, that is exactly the conditions our intrepid explorers are usually putting themselves in a fantasy game. So, that then we go, well, they got dark vision, they got infrared vision, they've got, there's been different versions of the seeing the dark vision in games like Dungeons and Dragons, but there's also versions of it in other games. And I'm like, yeah, but how well do they see? And that's the part that I think gets dropped, or missed or misunderstood. Now, the monsters see perfectly in the darkness. That's by design. Okay. I'm going to tell you that. They never have no problems. You are the invader. You are in their home. You are in an environment you don't belong in. You're the one who's going to have problems. And even in the oldest rules, it says if like the monster joins the party, then they have problems seeing in the dark from that point on. Just the way the rules are, people. So knowing little things like that. Well, I know that in dark vision, when it's being employed, there's no lanterns or torches, no light source. That everybody's at a disadvantage in the party in current 5e rules. I mean, people say 5e is too easy. It becomes easy if you ignore certain rules. If you enforce certain rules, it progressively gets harder the more you enforce those rules to darn right difficult and lethal if you want it to be. So, you just have to be willing to enforce the different options, make sure that you really understand what you're supposed to do, and then be hard about it. And players will have troubles. So that's one. But also, what can they really see with dark vision? Well, dark vision seems to be kind of like the night goggles. Go watch about a night camera vision thing, and you're seeing more in the scales of gray. It's not necessarily the best scene. They don't see in color when they're using dark vision. And so keep that stuff in mind. If it's infrared, then it's heat signatures they're seeing. That's even more alien, more different. And so that brings sight in also culturally. If you have an alien species that only sees in black and white, please watch some black and white films. especially for the player character. You know, you're the one playing the player character. And if you are game mastering a game, a Duralocite who only sees in black and white, for instance, in the grayscale, when the alarms are going off and the lights flashing, they're going to be the one going, well, is it a red alert or yellow alert? You know? Well, human, how do you remember what button to push? And they all look the same to me. They're just bright and not bright. They're going to be in a situation like that. And where they would have their whole ship designed differently because they see differently. Their whole writing system will be different. I'm voting for Ink Blob, a writing system that only Duralocites understand, and all the other species are like, it looks like a psychology test, man. How do they read that? And where the Duralocites are like, how do you not? But you got to think about these things. A culture that has no hearing isn't going to have a phonetic spelling system. They're not even probably going to do that because they've learned to communicate other ways, and that form of communication will then transfer to how they do their writing, what their monitor screens are. A species that, for instance, if you're doing a sci-fi game that only sees an infrared, how different is they're going to have not just screens that make symbols, but those symbols are going to be like produce different heats and stuff like that, and that means stuff that everybody else can't see, and maybe touching, they're because it has to produce a heat that they can see, and then how they look at you, what they see. So they're not going to describe a person the same as somebody else. Go watch movies like Predator and was it Wolfen, where they're trying to show you visually what infrared might look like. And if you're playing a character that only sees an infrared range, that's how you're going to have to describe things to other people who see totally differently, and you're going to have to figure out how to translate to each other. And fun for the GM, you get to describe, to Torg, the same person completely differently than to Bob, who sees like a regular human. Because Torg sees an infrared all the time, and Bob only sees a normal vision all the time. So that is something to think about. And I think even in like Farscape, the human from Earth, they all considered him handicapped because he couldn't see some of the stuff they could. Because he wasn't enhanced. And so, I mean, that's the thing. You could be normal for your species, but be considered handicapped because you can't hear a certain way, can't see a certain way, can't taste a certain way, but everybody else can. So it's not that you're not normal, it's just you're not their normal. So we're smell the same. So think about your senses. Think about whether your game mechanics are supporting that, whether your descriptions are supporting that as a player character, and also as the game master dealing with the player characters. And if you need light for people to see, like to map, to cast spells, whatever, you better hope somebody's in charge of that torch, and they really can't do combat. You've got to protect the light bearer, or you're in pitch dark, miles underground, and you can't see. Unless you got dark vision or infrared. And then what you see is totally not what you see right now. It's not dim light. That's not it. So please watch some stuff like old movies that are black and whites. Go find the game camera videos, the cops videos where they're chasing people with the helicopter, and the movies that try to show infrared, and watch it and get a description language going. Anyway, Everyone have a good one. Bye.